Have you ever felt kind of lost? Like you're always pushing for some other life, a better version of you, and feeling like where you are right now just isn't quite good enough? It's this pressure that so many of us feel. But today, we're going to explore a totally different way of thinking.
Just let that question sink in for a minute. What if the life you have right now, yeah, with all its messiness and imperfections, is already packed with value and power?
And this is the core idea from the incredible author and poet Ocean Vuong. He suggests that meaning isn't something we go out and find by escaping our situation. No, it's about uncovering the dignity that's already there, right in front of us. Okay, so let's dive into this first big idea. How in the world are we supposed to find value right where we are when it feels like society is screaming at us that our current life just doesn't count? So you see this huge clash, right? On one side, you have society's scorecard: get the good job, escape where you came from, reach ultimate success. But Vuong suggests, hey, what if we just throw out that scorecard and made our own? Instead of chasing what they want, we can focus on what we owe to ourselves, to the people we love, and to what we truly believe in. I mean, think about it. That's basically permission to define success on your own terms. So if all this meaning is right here, what's stopping us from seeing it? Well, according to Vuong, one of the biggest roadblocks is shame. It's that powerful, nagging feeling that tells us we need to hide parts of who we are, to tuck them away where no one can see. And here's his powerful comeback to shame: dignity. But not in the way you might think. For him, dignity isn't about having a perfect, flawless life. It's the exact opposite. It's about owning all of it, especially the struggles and the things other people might call failures, and just refusing to be ashamed of your journey.
Now, Vuong makes a really important distinction here. There's the shame of being, which is feeling bad for things you can't change, like your background or your identity. That's the toxic stuff. But then there's the shame of action, feeling shame for a choice you made. And that kind of shame can actually be useful. It can be a little alarm bell telling you, hey, maybe there's something here you need to repair.
And to really bring this idea home, he shares this incredibly moving story from his childhood. It's a moment of profound shame that happened with his mother, of all places, at the grocery store. He describes being in the checkout line and watching his mom realize she couldn't afford a couple of little tomatoes. It's such a small, quiet moment, but it's just heartbreaking. And anyone who's ever struggled with money, well, you instantly recognize that feeling. But here's the profound part. He noticed the young cashier saw what was happening, and she just respectfully looked away, not with judgment, but with a kind of dignity. It was this small, unspoken act of kindness that acknowledged their humanity without piling on more shame. And Vuong says that is where you find meaning. This brings us right to the power of language itself, because the words we use, the stories we tell ourselves, they can either be the cage that keeps us trapped in shame, or they can be the key that sets us free. I mean, just think about it. Every day, we are bombarded with messages from advertising and politics that are literally designed to make us feel inadequate. The language we absorb is constantly telling us we need more, we need to be better, that we are fundamentally not enough, just as we are. But Vuong says we can fight back. By choosing our words with intention, the way a poet does, we can reclaim language to build a more dignified and honest picture of who we are. And this isn't just about feeling good, It's a real act of resistance against all those narratives trying to shrink us. So this isn't just a big philosophical idea, it's something we can actually do. Vuong offers a few practical tools we can use to start changing our own stories, both inside and out. So here are 3 simple but really powerful techniques. First, change the questions you ask. Second, practice what he calls secular prayer. And third, use something called sequential thinking to shift your focus.
All right, first up, disrupt your patterns. We're all on autopilot with, how are you? Fine. So break that cycle. Ask something that actually opens up a real conversation. A question like this one just cuts through all the noise and invites a genuine, meaningful connection. The second tool is this really cool practice. When your own inner critic is just running wild, borrow someone else's powerful words. Find a poem or a quote that really speaks to you and physically write it down. When you do that, you start to internalize its rhythm and its meaning, and it can literally help overwrite your own toxic self-talk. And finally, there's sequential thinking. Now, this is not about ignoring your own pain. The idea is that it's really hard to hold 2 huge opposing emotions at the same time. So when you're stuck in your own suffering, try to consciously shift your focus to someone else's struggle.
This simple act can displace your own pain, even for just a moment, and create a space for compassion and love to come in.
All of this brings us to a final, powerful metaphor for how we can completely redefine what success looks like in our own lives. We're all told the same story, right? Climb the mountain of success, get the award, get the promotion, get to the next level. And then, once you're at the very top, then you'll find happiness.
But Vu has this warning. He says that when you finally get to the top of that mountain, you realize it's not a paradise. He calls it a graveyard. It's filled with the same old human struggles you were trying to escape. Envy, bitterness, pettiness. It's not the promised land. And this points to the real path. A meaningful life isn't about an endless climb. It's about having the courage to come back down the mountain, to ground yourself in your community, your family, and the things that really, truly matter. That's where the value is. So we'll end with this thought. We're always told to take risks, to push our boundaries, to scare ourselves. But Vuong reminds us that maybe the ultimate act of courage is to not be afraid of who you already are, to accept your whole story, flaws and all, right where you stand.